Okay, let's get started. Hey you guys, how you doing? It is our team call, Team Physics Nation. Today is September 22nd, and today I am going to discuss some really awesome tips about addressing objections. It's something that we all get no matter where we are in our coaching journey, whether you are a brand new coach, whether you've been a coach for a little while, or even years like someone like me. It's something that we all deal with, and believe me, we all get them. So I really wanted to give you some new tips that I feel will be very helpful to you, and I made some slides, so I'm going to screen share, and then I'm going to turn off my camera so I can actually see them and use my full screen. So hold on just a second. Turn that off. All right, and then go to view. Enter full screen. Okay, so here we go. Here are the addressing objections. Like I said, we all get them, and I promise you that you are not alone. There's something that we deal with. They can be super frustrating, but needless to say, we all deal with them. So I hope that this is some good information. Let's see. Okay. And one thing I will say is a lot of times is that the reason why we get objections is because people don't know exactly what you're presenting to them. So they develop these preconceived notions. There's a lot of stuff and junk out there on the internet that sometimes we have to combat against. And people just honestly get confused, and this gives them hesitations to take steps forward, with us. So, we're able to remove these objections and just make them feel more comfortable by, relating, and some things that I'm going to go over with you. Factors. But there are definite factors that determine your success when talking to people about different objections, different objections as far as products or the business opportunity. And these are 5. They're not typically, most important to least important, but they are the 5 factors that I feel like determine your success when you're talking to people about these objections. So the first one is credibility. People need to see that you have that credibility. This is why it's so important for us to be the product of the product. And to really show our own story and our own transformation with the products, because people are silently watching us, and they need to see that transformation for themselves to feel more comfortable. And what builds your credibility is it's compounded over time with the consistency. You've heard me say it time and time again, consistency is like a key player in the business that we're in. And the reason being is because people need to see and watch you for a while sometimes before they feel comfortable about taking the next step. So if you have to be positive, you have to be motivating, you have to have your own success story that people have to see that you love what you do, because it comes through to people. And if you're not doing that, and if you don't do this, you're going to lose credibility, and people will see. So this is why credibility is so important. The next one is influence. This is a little tricky. There's actually a really great podcast that Chalene Johnson did on her podcast station, Build Your Tribe, and she explained some of the science behind influence and things like that. It's really interesting, but basically it's the credibility combined with empathy creates that influence. So showing you care and you have the ability to help allows people to feel more comfortable. The next one is trust. To be honest, you can't like everything. So if someone comes to you and they're really looking for an opinion on maybe Insanity Max 30. You know that they love cardio and they love that sort of thing, but they really want your personal opinion. You could say, things like, well, I don't really know if I typically like Insanity Max 30, but it could be something that could work really well for you, and here's why. But the same thing goes with the business opportunity too. So, if they have, in your conversations, you've learned that they have 3 jobs and they're super busy and they can't put anything else on their plate, it's probably a good idea to let them know that they probably can't do this business right now. But maybe let her know that what you can do to help her improve her life, whether it's to help her, create meals on the go that are easy to fit in her busy schedule or things like that. And that way you don't lose, again, credibility, and you don't have a hidden agenda. And I think that this is just another way to build trust, is just to be honest and upfront with people, because that's really what they're looking for. The next one is relationship. And it kind of goes along with number 5, is no convincing. Again, like I just said, you don't want to have people see that you have a hidden agenda. It's really important to be genuine and tell your own story, and listen to what people tell you about what's going on in their life right now. Their situation, their issues, their pain points, their pleasures. All these things come into factors, into account, I guess, when you sit back and actually listen, because you want to provide a solution. So you want to connect their problems to what kind of solution that you might have to offer. And this is a really great way to build your network, because people will refer others to you because they know that you care about them, and that it's about the relationship first, and you're upfront and honest with them. So this is, to me, the groundwork that if you lay these 5 things down first, you're going to get fewer objections in the long run. All right, so steps to address objections. I have 11 points, and I have some good examples here in the middle that you can keep these slides and use the examples if you want to have a little bit of a guideline. Let's see. So you must know their needs and wants first. This is super, super important. And the way that you kind of do this is that you look at yourself as a consultant and you ask a lot of questions. It's really important that we don't see it as what we think they should want. An example of this would be, you see someone, that you find on Instagram or, wherever, and they have a really, really great fitness story. They have a really great weight loss journey. And you can see by scrolling their page that they already drink shakes. They've, again, had that great success. They are working out. It's obviously working for them, etc. But you still start a conversation with her and you develop a relationship. And then, as you get to know her, maybe you find out that she's not so happy with her finances right now. I don't know. But maybe she's not a good candidate for a program or Shakeology, but she's a great candidate for the business opportunity. So to be a coach, you don't have to be on Shakeology. Of course, I would highly recommend it, but maybe someone who's happy with what they're doing right now will take just a little bit longer to make that switch. I think Shakeology will absolutely can only help their business and I believe their overall health as well. But maybe, that particular person just needs to understand what Shakeology does and gets on before they actually get fully on board with Shakeology. And sometimes that's okay. You don't want to turn your back on somebody that you feel like would make a really great coach, and this opportunity would really help them out and provide that solution, just because they're really happy with a product that they're using already. And again, you got to put your own agenda aside and what you think people should do aside, and think about everything from their point of view and perspective. Basically, meet people where they're at, relate to them and empathize, be empathetic and relatable, to what they're telling you. And I truly do believe that you can be a great coach and have great success without drinking Shakeology. Of course, you have to use some of our products, but sometimes it's not about leading with that. It's not about getting them on board with that, because once they get a little bit more involved, they're gonna eventually try it and they're gonna see the benefit a little bit more. Number 2 is validate and clarify. So we've all had people say things like, I've heard about that, it's so expensive. I know I can get something like this cheaper at Costco. So this is where that validate and clarify comes into play. I would say something like, oh my gosh, I totally know how you feel. When I first heard about Shakeology and how much it cost me and my husband both were like, are you freaking kidding me? I originally kind of thought that it was a glorified protein shake. And to be honest, I wasn't even a shake drinker at all. Even though I was active and kind of into fitness at the time, I was going to group classes. I loved going to the gym. But I wasn't like all in. I'd go kind of a couple times a week and that was about it. But in my opinion, people who drank shakes, I just kind of looked at as being a little bit lazy. They made me cold, and I typically just wanted to eat my food and chew it, not drink it. So I initially thought that Shakeology was kind of a gimmick, and I was super skeptical. And so, I would relate to that. And people honestly think that Shakeology is a protein shake a lot of the time. It's just a protein shake. So, a way that I would kind of combat this and go up against this particular statement is, again, relate to them and say, I totally know how you feel. I initially thought it was a glorified protein shake, and the only reason I tried it was because I knew that I could get my money back if I didn't like it. When I tried it out, I immediately found that it solved a few major problems that I had, things like overeating, especially sweets. My digestion was 1,000,000 times better, and my hormones started to regulate. I started drinking it for breakfast and sometimes even dinner on nights I was exhausted because my days were super long and I had been working all days and I definitely didn't want to come home and cook. So Shakeology was just a good option for me at that time. And it helped me drop that stubborn weight that I had with hypothyroidism. And I don't give them all this information at once, but and because I would consider it, you've heard the phrase maybe word vomit. You don't want to word vomit all over them in one foul swoop, but just give them different pieces to where I feel like I can still relate to them and how they feel about that price. And then the way that I, that they know that I understand and how they feel. Hopefully the objective for myself is that I can make them feel more comfortable with that price. So it's really important to clarify that misconception of it just being a protein shake by relating and then giving some things that, it's personally done for you or what it's done in your life. And then another thing that you could also use at some point is, things that I've used personally is to tell people, well, it has all my vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, pro and prebiotics. It has adaptogenic herbs, which I have been using a lot lately because of the hypothyroidism, aspect, I guess. This is really, really important for those of us with hypothyroidism. So it's really important for me to explain that to people, and that it just happens to have it be high in protein as well. So you can give people some, break it down a little bit and and show them some more value, that it's not just high quality protein, that it has other things as well. Let's see. Okay, so these are going to be some scripts and guidelines that I put together for objections. It's things that we hear all the time. And so one big one that I feel like I get a lot is the Shakeology taste objection. Either it tastes similar to what they have, or that they didn't like it. And you give them a sample and they're like, ew, I don't even know why you drink this. This isn't even good. And I tell people, well, I don't make it with just water. And the funny thing is if you look on the package, it tells you to just add water. And, I don't make it that way. So I tell them the way that I make it, what my favorite flavor is. And then again, it reverts back to honesty. So you can see here in this slide some different examples to different objections. And a lot of times it's ending in a question. I'm asking more questions and not just giving a straight answer. I want to find out more about their particular objection. So a lot of people I hear will say that they already drink a protein shake that's cheaper. And I'll go back and say, well, what are you currently drinking? Is it working for you? This one here is the example I just gave you with, well, I've tried those meal replacement drinks. I've tried Shakeology on its own before and it tastes awful. And then again, you just explain it a little bit more and break it down. But you can go through there and just read some of those these objections. And then it's really important to just validate and stand confidently behind what you're telling them. And I'll go ahead and say this real quick if I forget to say it later. Is a lot of coaches absolutely 100% require a challenge pack purchase to be in a challenge group. And to me, that's kind of a downfall because you're missing out on commission and volume and turning someone away from our amazing community. But it's totally up to you because I've done both. Of course, hitting Success Club is a non-negotiable and it's a top priority. But if you're really into a conversation and that person is ready to get going, they just can't afford everything or they don't want to, they just want to do the program, I say you move forward with that person because you never know when that person's going to be ready. Once they get into our group, they could want to continue on that next month and go ahead and get a challenge pack. And I just go ahead and tell people, sometimes with different groups that we run, of course, like we run the first one, the first Monday of every month, that's kind of our quote unquote paid challenge group. But, it's okay to say that it's a complimentary group that I offer for the investment of a program or product. So as long as they're buying a product or they have a product already, just make sure that they're your customer. I say go ahead and let's help them out and let's get them into that group because I feel like that opportunity is expanded. So I just wanted to touch on that because I feel like it's really important to give you that option. In addition to hitting Success Club and having challenge packs at our disposal and as a really amazing option. All right, so number 3 is share what it does for you. People don't always want the science behind things, and the nitty gritty of what exactly Shakeology does and things like that. They just want to know what it's done for you. And the reason why is because they can relate to that. They just want some relatability. They want to see that the products work. They want to hear your story as to what, why it's such a big deal in your life and why you use it. So that is something that you don't have to word vomit. Again, like all those sciencey facts, like just relate it to you and share what it does for you. Number 4 is to bring it back to them and their goals. this is huge, you guys, because people are trying to make a decision to invest their time and money into anything, whether it be, a new shirt at the mall, whether it's to buy an organic set of bananas versus, a regular set of bananas. They weigh everything out when it comes to money, and especially, if time equals money. So, people are trying to make that decision to invest their time and money. But how do the benefits outweigh their time and money? That's what we have to figure out. And people don't care about some of the details up front until they get a little bit more into it, but they're more concerned about the solution. So if you're getting caught up in scripts or, super detail-oriented things, then get in tune with your intent with people and how you're making them feel first. I love this, how you make them feel and your intent to help them solve the problem they mentioned is far more important than the actual words used. You make it more about them than you make it about yourself. And I think that goes a really, really long way with people. The next one, number 5, is share the financial value. It's really, really important to break it down. So, using the example of Shakeology, it is a meal replacement. And you have to break that down and show people that, because they just don't know. People look at the initial cost of all 30 servings, and people are thinking that that's an additional cost to their monthly expense. And it's really not, because it is that meal replacement. So as a coach, you get it for a little over $3, and retail, it's a little over $4, and that's for a meal. So if you can break it down and even ask the question of something like, if you were to have a meal of chicken, fruits, and vegetables, how much would that cost? Or if you were to, be at work all day, would you eat out? Or, things like that. Ask some more questions. And I just reiterate to them that you're going to replace a meal. And most people will tell you that they're going to drink it for breakfast. But a really great spin that I have actually, obviously I've done this myself, but what's worked really well for me is to tell people that that sometimes they find more value if they drink it for dinner. And because dinners are typically frantic during the week, there's a bunch of different excuses that go into a healthy dinner. So typically dinner meals cost more. So sometimes people will find more value if they drink it for dinner, and it doesn't have to be something they do for dinner long term, but maybe until they see the value and the benefits of Shakeology. Let them see that value so they can take this cost out of the weekly and monthly grocery budget. And I tell people that all the time, that I initially thought that the price was super expensive and scary, and it wasn't until I started actually drinking it and seeing the benefits, and then really looking at my monthly grocery budget, and found out that I was saving money at the grocery store every single month and every single week, because I wasn't having food go to waste that I may or may not eat that I was buying. So again, you just kind of have to make people understand why it's worth it. And when you're buying something more expensive because of quality, in my opinion, you become more invested and make sure that you use it the right way, that as it's intended. It's almost like you have, more skin in the game, and you've spent this money, so you're going to make sure that you do it the right way and see and reap the full benefits of it. And it's also important to know and to explain that if you learn that somebody wants to try Shakeology out for 1 month, some of our challenge packs are less expensive than a one-time Shakeology order. So be sure to let them know all their options and that they fully understand that. So again, it kind of goes back to being that consultant and really providing all the information up front for them so that they know and understand. So if somebody somebody's ordering Shakeology without the home direct as their first initial order, they're paying a high price shipping. And so it ends up being like over $150 just for that single order of Shakeology, where if they were to buy a challenge pack for the $140 with free shipping, they not only get a 1 month supply of Shakeology, but they are also getting a full fitness and nutrition program that they can use for as long as they want to. And of course, they're going to be in our challenge group. So that's like a triple win. And number 6 is to end messages with a question. So if I have a coach tell me that they do this and they've heard this before and they really, really try to end all their messages with people with the question, but all they hear is crickets, or, a lot of the time that no one answers their questions, maybe this is what's happening is I go and look, I would say 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 times, their conversation was all business. There was nothing relatable. There was nothing social in there. It was just very bland and to the point. And it wasn't really you weren't investing time into them. And that's where the mistake is made. So you want to end things with something lighthearted, like, anywho, how are the kids? How's work going? Any fun plans for the weekend? That sort of thing. So you can still have some business talk, but then loop it back around to something lighthearted to where they feel comfortable about answering, and then you can keep the conversation going. Number 7 is to add value of your own. And this could be anything from adding value to a challenge group to the business opportunity. So you can add value. You want to add that value and let it be clear that what you offer them in your challenge groups is super cool over someone else, or what you can offer them as their mentor for the business opportunity. Maybe for a challenge group, you are giving away additional menus or prizes, things like you're providing a prize maybe to the top winner of your challenge group, top 3 winners of the challenge group. Again, that's up to you. You could, if you're heavily interested in counting macros, you hear that all the time on Instagram and see people counting macros. You can do that for people, and it's super easy to do. There's a website called freedieting.com, and all you need is their information, and you enter it in based on the data that they give you. So that could be something really cool that you do if that's something that interests you, and it's something that fits in your niche, and it's what you work with your clients with. That's an option. But basically, you just want to show them what you can do to have greater value. And it allows them to feel more comfortable about taking that step with you because you're invested too. So number 8 is deadline. Help yourself now versus later. People will drag their feet on things forever that they do for themselves. So at work, if they have a deadline for their boss, they're going to get it done. If they have to take their kids to soccer practice by 7 o'clock every week for 2 months, they're going to do it. But when it comes to themselves, people drag their feet. And I hear this objection from you guys and from coaches all the freaking time. And, you have people month after month after month just dragging their feet. And a way around this is sometimes it takes people the extra push and the extra nudge, and to create that sense of urgency that they have to take this step now. And you can use their goals and the things that you've talked about to push them towards that as well. So an example that I gave you is I have 2 more spots left for those who commit to a program in Shakeology by such and such date. I know this will help you with, again, you can add in some examples that you've talked about in a fun way. So what do you say? Are you ready? Again, you're ending that phrase with a question. So you have to ask, you guys. Like, if you just say, let me know if you're interested, just go ahead and plan on that not working out for you. You're going to get frustrated, and you're going to continue to go round and round in that circle. So you have to ask. You have to ask for the deadline, for the sale at the deadline. And then number 9 kind of leads into this. If they're still not interested, ask permission to follow up. Say something maybe like, I completely understand. Do you want me to follow up? Keep you on the list to follow up with you about the next one I do. And most of the time, people will say yes, and now you have that permission from them. So it's not weird when you go back in a couple weeks or a month later, or 2 months later, maybe, depending on the conversation that you guys have had. It's not weird. It's not salesy. They've already given you permission. Don't be afraid to do this, because it's really important to have confidence in what you're doing. A lot of times, we've all heard it before, that no means not right now, and it has to do with sometimes it has to do with factors that they just can't control. So don't cross them off the list. Just be sure to go back to them. And again, show some compassion and show that you understand that stuff happens and things come up, but let's continue to talk and be friends and conversate. And when you're ready, like, I'm going to be here. Is it okay that I follow up with you and, by such and such date, to see if that maybe works better for you, or, whatever you want to say, something along those lines. And then number 10 is keep the relationship and conversation going, kind of like I just said. You want to empathize with them, and you want to just basically respect what people are saying and what they have going on. It's not about you, it's about them. And the more that they can see that, the more it's going to help you so much more in the long run with your relationships and the conversations that you have. And then the last one is number 11, and I said use smiley faces. This sets the tone. Guys, this makes such a big difference. People can easily misinterpret messages, especially if we're working from our phone and we're in a hurry, or even just being brief because we're trying to type it on our phone. It can easily come across the wrong way. I've of course had that happen to me. I'm sure we've all had it happen. So it's important to be thorough. So if you're explaining something about a program, or going into more detail, it's really important to be thorough. And thorough in a way of you're taking your time with that conversation, you're listening to what they're saying, and you're responding in a genuine way. So be thorough, and then be sure to use complete sentences and use proper grammar the best that you can. I think it's important to kind of write your messages and conversations, emails even, kind of how you would talk. So, sometimes you can put LOL or haha, things like that, like in there, but using smiley faces make it, it just warms it up a little bit, and it makes you still look professional when you're using proper grammar and complete sentences, and that you're taking your business seriously. And if it comes across that if you're in a rush and that you're just trying to get your point across, it can just set a really bad tone. And then people will be more inclined to walk away, and then you will hear those crickets. So, using smiley faces is a really good way to set a positive tone for the conversation. And I even suggest doing this in your comments, or in your pages and on your posts. So if someone is commenting on something that I posted about. Maybe it doesn't even have to be about a challenge group or something specific, but just to, say, hey, so thanks so much, for saying that. That's super sweet, smiley face. I can't wait to reach out to you, or whatever, would be the proper way to respond to that particular comment. But using that smiley face and just make it seem like you're excited to talk to them and interact with them makes people feel a lot better, and it goes a long way. And I love this quote, people don't care what you know until they know you care. And that pretty much says it all. That's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Let's see, I'll stop my screen share, get out of this. Stop screen share. All right. So that was addressing objections. I hope that you guys got something out of that and find it helpful to go about objections in a little bit different way. Maybe you got some nuggets as far as something that you can tweak, things like that. And of course, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and you can, once I upload the recording, you can post your questions like under the recording video, and then I'll see them for sure. So you guys have a good night. I'm really happy that you guys have had a good week, and I'll talk to you soon.